co-host and runs the LangChain community. Hey, James.
Hello, hi everyone. Hope you are all doing good. I have nothing much to say. I think we can just dive into the session. I think we are good. We can have more discussion after this. Yeah, thank you, Amos. The floor is yours.
Yeah, so today we are just going to give into the vibes and learn what vibe coding actually is, because there's tons of different things. There's vibe coding, vibe designing, vibe vibe pen testing, vibe cyber security. But today we're going to dive deep into what vibe coding is. So vibe coding is a term coined by Andre Karpathy. Andre Karpathy is the former researcher at OpenAI. He has amazing videos. If you want to learn about how AI actually works, you can follow him, and how LLMs are built actually, and you can follow him, and and maybe learn a thing or two. So he said this is refers to hands-off development style, where the traditional coding is replaced by natural language prompting, which is just your normal English. You're telling an AI to do this, and it does this. So it is usually implemented in natural language, where you tell an AI to do something and does a thing or two for you, right? So some of the benefits of vibe coding include: one is you can actually be able to do faster prototyping, right? So you can move from idea to working prototype in hours than not weeks, actually, right? So this is great. This is ideal for startups who are trying to validate ideas, or you just maybe trying to put out your portfolio so that you can have digital presence or something, or maybe you are working at a hackathon where speed and time is not usually on your side, right? Yeah, yeah, Chris. So another thing would be another benefit would be by coding drives you to be more creative, right? So instead of taking time trying to figure out how to uh, mastering different language syntax rules and trying to debug errors, you're now trying to focus on what actually matters. So being creative on the solutions that you're trying to build, right? So with vibe coding, you can focus on what you actually want to do, right? So the creativity task instead making things like games or anything that you want to desire to build, right? And another thing that vibe coding has enabled us, it has enabled us, or people rather, who are non-technical, to be able to create these digital products that you are seeing, because you can go to Twitter, someone might create their whole applications, their whole idea without even hiring an engineer, right? So the bar is no longer high for being a software engineer. Uh, Being a software, maybe not like a proficient software engineer, but being able to develop an application, the bar is not that high, because anyone can do it with AI. So since maybe if you're a designer, educator, business founder, or even a hobbyist, you can use AI to bring your ideas to life, right? Another thing would be, so for the people who are software engineers and developers, this has tremendously increased your efficiency, right? You've been able to ship more codes. You don't have to memorize syntaxes like you needed to do before, or go back to documentations where you have to read and write something, right? So currently, for developers, vibe coding removes the repetitive tasks, right? The boring part of coding, okay, you could say, which is maybe writing boilerplates, maybe for your fast API applications, setting up your environments, right? For example, if you're trying to use Avite applications, you can just tell your Casa or Cloud Code to do those configurations for you, and it will run for you, right? So This it has also increased the developer efficiency, right? So another new opportunity that vibe coding has introduced, and this is a good thing for people who are who review code and understand software, right? So there are new job opportunities where people are posting they need a person who actually understands how software works for their products to make sense, right? So you have new opportunities for where people are trying to hire people to clean their code, uh, review the generated AI code, standardize the architecture, which are key things when you are developing softwares as a software engineer, but not a person who just wanted to write code their whole solutions, right? So, and also something would be to ensure security and compliance for their software so that no one can hack their software. So these positions on LinkedIn or even on Upwork, you can find them. They are called AI vibe cleaners. So they come and clean the code for vibe coders, whether you're using Lovable or any other tool, right? So let's talk about some of the limitations that come with vibe coding, right? So the first limitations is you have an unpredictable output, right? So you have AI generate code, AI generate codes probabilistically, right? So this means the same prompt that you give an AI is going to give different results each time for the output. So this makes the output unreliable and not even strict and consistent, right? So another problem you might encounter is hidden bugs, right? If you do vibe code your applications and do not understand or do not take keen heed on your code or software, you might run into AI exposing bugs on your applications, right? You can have this can be susceptible to attacks or or security issues where you can end up losing money. Like let's say for example, a betting site. If you decided to like code the whole thing and did not take the heed of the basics of the engineering security principles, you might end up having hidden bugs and might cost you a lot of money on your applications, right? Another issue is vibe debugging. So vibe coding is really nice until you come to vibe debugging. So vibe debugging is really hard because you do not know what the AI was thinking or generating, right? So traditionally you would understand the logic on the code that you wrote, right? But currently when you're vibe coding, users often use the generated code by AI, so you end up regenerating the code until something works. So this is where you miss the learning process or where the problem was with the system. You might find out that the problem was with just a line of code, but you ended up changing a whole module that costed you more tokens on your AI applications, right? So other issue is you have fragmented architecture, right? If you take code from, let's say, if you're using a free version for Claude and then come use a free version of GPT, you might have different interpretations of code, of uh, how the code was generated. So you have different patchworks for on your code base. So you do not have efficiency or a standard in your architecture. So over time, it can be really hard to manage when you do not have when you have patchwork everywhere on your code base, right? So the question is, should you vibe code, right? Uh, the answer is yes and no, right? So you can vibe code if you are doing faster prototyping, you need faster prototyping and need to ship faster, or you're trying to survive the startup ecosystem and trying to generate revenue for your softwares. But if you are working maybe for an organization like a bank, right? So if you decide to vibe code in a bank, you might cost the bank a lot of money when you push an error, right? Because when you push a bug that costs the bank maybe 5, 10 million, 20 million, that for sure, my friend, you might end up losing your job. So it depends on the kind of scenario you are. It is good for you to vibe code for maybe when you're in a startup, early stage startup, you're prototyping, you are you're prototyping, you are requiring quick demos, and so on and so forth, or maybe trying to automate a repetitive task. You can decide to write code, but not looking good for your in large scale production. When you're in large scale production, you need actual software engineers who understand what is actually going on uh, for you to work with them. And if you're also working with sensitive data, like let's say hospital data or bank or maybe defense data or KWK, Kenya Defense Forces data. So you need to be really, really careful on what you're doing, right? So let's dive deep into some of the types of vibe coding tools. So there are different types of vibe coding tools out there that you can use today, right? So there are different categories. So the first category is the AI coding assistant. So this is one which works on your IDE. So for those who do not know IDE is just a code editor, which was something like a VS Code. This include Casa, this include Windsurf, and the new one from I can't remember the name, from Amazon. I don't know if it's Amazon or can't remember the exact name. So these these AIs are embedded into your coding tools, right? So you have GitHub. This includes GitHub Copilot, Cloud Code, Tab9. We have Windsurf and Cursor, right? So we're going to explore some of them, some of these tools later on, because we are usually a practical. This is usually a practical sessions. So number two is the prompts to app platforms. So these platforms lets you describe your application or what you want in plain language. Then it tries to build its own tries to build it for you on their website, right? So these are usually are websites that charges people to bring their ideas to life, right? So they generate full applications, websites, and even workflows for you to use them, right? So some of the example applications out here that are popular include Lovable, Greater, we have Replit, we have Windmill. Casa also has a web-based type of system. We have also Bolt.new. We have Builder.io. They also these platforms actually provide you with uh, with a chat interface where you can try to describe to the AI as much as possible on what's the idea you had. So another one would be conversational agents. So before we had AI agents like the Copilot. Okay, Copilot was there before. Like Casa, we as developers usually used a direct chat from ChatGPT, where you go directly to ChatGPT, directly to ChatGPT, ask a question, or provide your code. Then ChatGPT now tries to refine your code, tries to find an error, copy the actual code, bring it back to your code, and try to see if it works, right? So this were, I don't want to say traditional, but it still works for me. But if you do prefer using things like Casa or Bolt, maybe you're paying a lot of money. Uh, so this include things like Claude or Codlama or DeepSeek. You can all the models out there that are conversational agents that can help you. do coding, right? We also have hybrid, hybrid and no code and Vibe platforms. So these platforms, they do combine the ability to do something like drag and drop, um, builders to with an AI prompt, right? So these include platforms launched actually lately by Google, known as Opal, where you describe your idea, you can turn it to Figma, you can do a bit of drag and drop. You can have Webflow. Webflow is a is a design is a low code designed to try and bring your designs or maybe front end to life, where we can generate code from AI with their plugins. We have Builder.io. So you're going to see some of these agents working in real life, right? So here I have highlighted some of the vibe coding tools that are popular out there. So one of the popular web coding tools include Lovable, we have Copilot, we have Cloud Code, we have Windsurf, we have Replit, we have Bolt.new, we have Casa, we have Memex, we have Parcel, we have Same, we have Rocket.new, Bubble, Builder.io, Webflow. So some of these websites, they actually provide different levels of intelligence, right? Or implementations. So for example, you can have bolt.new. So this bolt.new is an open source uh, web-based applications where you can host it by yourself and power it by your own AI LLMs or AI models, right? We have but the most advanced being maybe GitHub Copilot or Casa, which are AI coding agents. And also, for example, we know Vercel, V0 by Vercel is a tool that helps you design front end, right? So you need to understand what these different tools offer. For example, you can have Rocket.new. Rocket.new helps you turn Figma files into actual code, which is a nice thing to do. You can also have Builder.io, which also helps you do the same exact thing, right? So next on, we move on to the principles of working with vibe coding tools, right? So these are some of the principles. Whether you are using Cursor, you're using Lovable, you're using the web-based, you're using the hybrid, you're using P0. Uh, these are some of mostly the ideal case scenarios that you will run into when you're using these web coding tools to bring out the best outputs for yourself or for your idea, right? To help you ship your idea. So first things first is to understand the tool and their sidekicks, right? What do I mean by that, right? So as I said earlier, some tools are agentic in nature, right? This means they code with you, or you code along with them, depending on how you see it. So you can go with it interactively back and forth. Uh, so, for example, these include tools like Casa, WinSub, Copilot, which are actually embedded in your IDEs. So they're just like smart uh, or knowledgeable programmers embedded in your coding environments, right? Some others include are purely just generative, right? So you can't be able to edit them per se, but you can be able to generate you can be able to generate like pretty much good features with them, right? So this include things like Lovable, this include Bolt, this include Bubble, this include something like same.new. So they produce large chunks of code for your entire applications from scratch, and then you can decide to download this code, then input in your in your agents, right? That's so the first thing is you need to understand what tools your tools and how they work and what output they produce. For example, you need to understand if you're working with bolt.new, how is the code structured? Is it the best structure that you really want? So uh, you need to understand the kind of structure you want in your code. For example, if you want a particular view set to look at a certain way, you need to tell your AI, my view set looks like this. If you're using like a custom view set for your, let's say, backend, you should tell your AI, make sure my custom view sets always look like this. If you're using something like a front end, you need to know if you're using those purely generative solutions like bolts, you need to know what type of code they generate. Is it TypeScript? Is it JavaScript? So you need to be conversant with these kind of things before you just dive deep or just dive in, because you might get stuck somewhere. And that somewhere you maybe you're talking to people or investors. Eventually you need to hire someone who actually understands what they are doing, right? So number two is you should have a clear vision of what you want, right? Always maybe take about 2 3 minutes, 5 minutes, or the time you need to understand what is your vision, what is your goal you're trying to achieve. Is it you're trying to build just a front end? Is it or are you trying to build just a portfolio for yourself? Are you trying to you need to like have a clear vision on what you want. uh, Remember, there's a rule where garbage in, garbage out. So your AI, if your AI doesn't know what you really want, you also, if you don't know what you really want, your AI will also struggle trying to find out what applications you're really trying to build, right? And AI will always give you an output, right? Always give you a result, even if it's bad. So you need to have a clear, defined vision for yourself, right? So you need to have, so you need to know what your app does, who is it for, what are the key features, what are the flows you're going to take, right? You can take 2 minutes, 10 minutes, write it on GPT or Gemini or any tools that you use to clearly define your idea before even trying to code fast, right? Another thing would be is to plan your UI UX first, right? Before you move to something like a backend system, right? So plan how your flow is going to be for your application or for your user. Uh, so always plan your UI UX first. So when you have your UI UX, you know what kind of features or what kind of flow your user will is going to interact with, instead of starting with something like a backend where you do not know where the flow is going to be or how the flow is going to be, right? So always start with the UI UX. So in this session, later on, we're going to transform UI UX file from the Figma community into an actionable code, right? So another thing is you should choose a popular tech stack, right? We all know that AI is good at what it is trained on, right? So if your framework isn't as popular as much, AI is going to struggle to generate code for you, right? So uh, we see AI models are trained on vast amounts of public data. So this means that there are far better projects on popular tech stacks before you on popular tech stacks. Um, some that I'd recommend you to use or learn mostly the basics about for you to be a really good byte coder would be you should learn maybe something like Next.js. You do not have to learn anything deep. You just need to learn how the structure works, right? Next.js for front end, You have Superbase. Superbase is actually really important when you're building a backend, when you have vibe coded. It can help you with things like database and authentication, and a bit if you and a bit of Python, which can help you also to deliver really good results when you're vibe coding, right? You also need to learn maybe a little bit of how Tailwind CSS styling works. You can do it through the documentations, because Tailwind CSS is a really popular tech stack uh, where people actually you can get really good help, and it's easy to learn, right? Uh, and also maybe try learn things like a Vassal. Vassal is can really help you to host your websites, which is actually easy. We're going to try and do this in this session, right? We're just going to give into the vibes, right? So another factor or another principle is have basic knowledge, basic stack knowledge, as I said earlier. So we know that AI is powerful, but it can't replace human judgment, right? If you do not understand the basic stacks, right, you won't be able to make good decisions, or AI can give you a bad suggestion, and it will fail in production, and you'll be asking it, you'll be burning more tokens, uh, or more subscriptions, and burning more subscriptions where when you have something failing, right? So you should have basic understanding of these tech stacks when you're vibe coding. So stick to Next.js or React.js, Superbase, Tailwind, and just Vercel for you to have really good vibe coding results for and faster prototype, right? Another thing would be you should be able to craft your prompts, uh, craft detailed prompts, right? So you need to be as accurate as possible to tell the AI on what you actually really want. So you do not have such a big prompt like build me a dashboard. A dashboard can be many things, right? So something you should be saying to the AI should build me a dashboard, an admin dashboard with a top bar, with a sidebar, with with this hamburger menu, use Tailwind CSS, Next.js for this framework, right? So this is a detailed prompt where the AI can give you good results than just being vague. And so don't be lazy, just type or speak into the AI so that you can get better results as by coder, right? Another thing, rule of thumb when it comes to solving a problem is break down complex features into small features, right? So when you break down big features into small features, you're able to first things first, you'll be able to manage your chat window. So you want to be able to burn through a lot of tokens. And when you finish your features, you need to push it to GitHub, as AI generated code can really mess you up, right? So break down complex features into small attainable goals that you can do with your AI. So the solution to break down big requests into smaller steps. For example, if you are having a chat system, so first you can generate the chat UI, right? When you generate the first chat UI, push the code to GitHub, and if it works, push it to GitHub. So then you can add a real-time messaging. This can be WebSockets or anything that you want it to do. If that part works, push it to GitHub, then move to the next feature, which is maybe finally implementing your database and storage, then push it to GitHub. Another thing I might have not mentioned here, but when you're doing vibe coding, GitHub is actually your best friend, because AI can really take a toll on you can take a toll on you, and you might restart your whole project because you didn't push your code to GitHub. So when you break down your features into small executable patterns, make sure you push the code to GitHub, and so that you have good version control, right? Another principle would be to manage your context window wisely. So it's just as simple as when a chat window is full, just move on to a new chat, right? So when you have those features broken down into small components, you can be able to finish your major to finish major features in different chat windows, right? That you're using for your AI, right? And also you need to be constantly testing your application to see if it works or it doesn't work, right? So these are just some of the principles that I highlighted. So I'll add the 10th one, which is learn GitHub version controlling, and so that it can save you a lot of from the AI crap that it can generate, right? So this is going to be a practice example here. So you're going to do a practical example of trying to code a full application. You're going to move a design from Figma to our code, then try to deploy it and see how it looks in the real world if we attain the actual design, right? So before I start, is there anyone who has a question? Uh, so I guess no one has a question. So let me share my screen, this other screen. Don't know if you could see this. So this is a simple UI that I got from just the community, Figma community. So you're going to try to generate code and deploy deploy this application on Versa. So it looks kind of neat. Uh, let's see if the AI can generate a replica of this application, of this design, right? So we are going to use something known as what should we use builder.io. So instead of Lovable. So you need to understand like how these different tools works. So some actually work with MCPs, actually work well with MCPs. Some work well with screenshots. Some work well with extensions. Some work well with cursor. So you need to know how these tools functions for you to get the best maximum outputs possible, right? So you're going to use builder.io today. They're not sponsoring this video or this session, so to say. So let me just proceed to the application. So what I'm going to do is I have a plugin, a builder.io plugin. So you need to know how these different tools work. So I'm going to where's the plugin? Can't see the where's the plugin? Setting the plugin. Oh, here is it. So I'm going to use the builder.io plugin on Figma to try to generate the code. So I'm going to, so it's actually saying quality grades for selections greater than 30 pixels, which is true. This is all about managing context window, but we're just going to do it anyway to see how it fares on. So I'm going to click on export. So this is where you just give into the vibes and start listening to music or amapiano. So that's why it's called vibe coding, right? You just give into the vibes and let the AI do the heavy lifting for you. So let's give it a bit of time, still processing. And let me close a few tabs. So it's still processing. So this is the problem with okay, it's not the problem. It's actually faster. This maybe how long would you think it would take for a front end engineer to implement such a landing page without AI? Anyone? Maybe weeks. This would take weeks, right, for you to generate such a UI, right? So it's actually generated. So I'm going to export this. Uh, so they're saying 1 week. Yes, it would take 1 week to complete such a learning page, but us we're going to take like 5 minutes. So I'm going to import it here. I'm just going to paste it here, and going to give the AI instructions on what it should do. Hopefully I do have 3 credits. Uh, so I'm just going to tell it to create uh, create this design. Use Tailwind Tailwind CSS, Byte, and what else? JavaScript. The Byte JavaScript, and maybe what else can we do? I think it also has a plugin here. So we're going to do React and Byte, and going to generate that message. So this is where you just give into the vibes and wait for the AI to do the heavy lifting. So it's just going to compare the output of of the AI. So this is converting Figma file into into an actionable working design, right? But some of the disadvantage of using these tools is actually they are articulated to how the platform is designed, right? So if you see, for us we had an example of Vite and React Angular Vite. So there are not many other options for you to choose from. And let's say if we choose something like Tailwind CSS, it would use the old methods of using Tailwind CSS, not the modern methods of using Tailwind CSS, right? And it also comes with a lot of unnecessary files that you actually do not need. So if you do not understand these things, it might be overwhelming. It might be overwhelming for you to see all those files, and it might cost a lot of tokens. So for something, maybe a module that wrote a code for, let's say, 140 lines of code, it would have just imported it, right? Install it and imported it, and you would have been done with such a module. So this is one among the disadvantages of using AI. Though it will be fast, as you can say, it would take a week for us a front-end engineer to finish such a design. So, but for us, it should take less than less than a minute or 5 minutes per se. So let's give it a bit of time. So as you can see here, it's created a to-do list. So it's setting up Google Fonts. Maybe actually in your company, you're actually importing those fonts from maybe not Google. They're just custom fonts, but the AI decided to use Google Fonts and made a global.css file that you actually do not need. You see, this is the disadvantages of using AI. Now it's updating the Tailwind config with custom colors. So this is just that's something I was saying. You see, for example, maybe setting up like something like Tailwind on your White app or application, it would have just been installing Tailwind, right? And just importing it, right? This is a modern way of using Tailwind. But since it is outdated, it will write a lot of files that you might not even need, right? So still generating the app though. So this is how the app. This is actually the layout, the app layout. So I don't know why we need a global.css for, right? Uh, We also have a server side, right? That a server side that we don't actually know what it does, right? So it's actually creating demo routes that for code we do not actually need, right? So you see, it can't, and I told it to use JavaScript, but it switched to TypeScript because the platform is designed for TypeScript, right? Well, TypeScript is a good thing, but it failed to follow my instructions uh, when generating this application. So we'll just see the output. We'll just see the output if it matches the the folder, then it's actually it might be a good thing, right? Someone might like this solution. Actually, you have a docker ignore, but you don't know why do you have a docker ignore file? So maybe I guess this is where you just give into the vibes and wait for the AI to finish building. So as maybe we wait for the AI, you can have few people try to say a thing or two about maybe just vibe coding or what they actually think about this whole process of vibe coding. Actually creating a lot of unnecessary files, and all we needed is just needed like the home page that we wanted. So uh, how many pages did it create? It created only the indexed JSX file. So I guess it's still generating the application. So there's no way we can fast forward this practical application. But from what you've understood, I think it's best you just follow those principles which I mentioned earlier. So it's creating the header and the navigation components. Then it moves to the hero section for the illustration, then building company logos. Then it creates a service card section, then build a call to action illustration. So this is a lot of code it's creating for a logo. This is an SVG file. Okay. Okay. Service card. We have the service card, but it's not that bad actually. You can fine tune actually this solution to if it actually looks pretty. You can just fine tune it to your liking. You can now move to from web based. You can now move to cloud code or cursor where you can fine tune this solution to your liking, right? But the problem is that you'll end up uh, the cost of generating uh, this Figma files is actually these files are actually expensive, and actually when you become over dependent on them, you might be paying a lot of subscription fees for these AI solutions, right? Sometimes it's just easy. It's advisable for you to just learn the few basics that can really help you save a bit of cost for you. So actually here it is. So it generated the code, which is actually it's actually not bad, but this is the navigation is so poor. Uh, Actually, the search is it got this a bit of the search is actually not bad. Then this overlapping thing is so bad. Then I go to the AI wasn't actually thinking. Actually, this is not. This is actually bad because I could see this is not actually centered well. But it does work. It does work. Mm, it actually didn't implement the way we wanted to. It didn't implement the way how this looked like. These actual figures. These actual figures. CEO John Smith. But this is just a basis of how you'd want to work. So this would take you a day instead of a week to try to finish or place everything in order. So let me try and download this code and run it on something like Casa, right? So let's open Casa. Time is flying, Casa. Let me just extract here. Cursor. Let's see how it would look on when you run it. Let me, or maybe we can run it using you can run it using Claude Code. Something's wrong with my machine. Oh, actually, here it is. Can you see my screen, right? Yeah. So yeah, I guess yeah. So system problem. Uh, so this is how Casa looks like. Uh, See, you have a lot of files. I don't know why we have a server file, right? So, but we're not going to use Casa today because I can see the time is gone. Maybe maybe we can try and maybe deploy it. So and maybe see how it looks on the mobile desktop, right? So even since you're not using Docker, it's had a Docker file, right? And this PMNP usually has a lot of problems when deploying these applications. Okay, let me just push it to GitHub, and we'll try to deploy this to Vassal and see how it looks like. Or maybe I can, if it runs, we can see how it looks like, and maybe do some fine tuning. So let me just push it. Hmm. Yeah, actually, it's on GitHub, so you can go to Vassal and deploy it. Let me close this. My laptop is hanging too much. taking a bit of time. Huh. Yeah, can you hear me? Had a delay over there. So let's go to Vercel and try deploy this application. Well, it's also still installing, so we can maybe see how it looks like. So this is localhost 88. Uh, so let me just code this one out of the way with Casa. So this is a byte config issue. So let's just give into the vibes and hopefully it fix it. So I guess it should be fine. Uh, so this is a project. This is a project here. It doesn't look as stunning as I thought, but it did work. It did not 100% good job, but it did somewhat maybe 50% or 60% of the job. And you see some elements are overlapping, right? So comparing it with the design that we did have, it's not as bad as I thought. It's not as bad. So maybe a few things might be needed, or maybe the process of breaking down into different components, maybe starting with a landing page, with this page first, then move on to the next thing, move on to this other page, then subheader sections. So that would be maybe quite more effective and might have brought out more output when we're using this type of tool. Actually, we were actually warned when using more than 3,000 pixels might result into a bad output, right? So maybe I guess that was one among the problem that we experienced, right? So I guess you're not going to deploy for today. Uh, I want to leave it at that, but I hope you have seen the different fundamentals of vibe coding taking place, right? Hopefully, you can try and explain the experiment experiment these types of tools, but do not be as dependent on them, because when you become dependent, your pocket is going to suffer, right? You're going to pay a lot of subscriptions. So maybe you can opt in to use open source solutions like bolt.new and host it by yourself and do it by yourself, so that you do not have a rising cost, but still have an advantage of how the technology actually works. Yeah. So I'm going to end it at that. So I'm going to that if you have any question, you can just raise up, and I'll help you. I'll try to answer. Yeah. Anyone has any question? Or maybe you can share your experience with vibe coding. Uh, yeah, yeah, Dennis. Makori, you're muted. Dennis, I think you're maybe having a trouble with your technology. Uh, okay. As we're waiting for Dennis, does anyone have any other question, or is your question on the chat, Dennis? Oh, so your question, if I actually Grace did answer you. It's not advisable to start by coding when you are trying to learn programming. It makes sense if you are an entrepreneur, uh, but not someone who's looking to get into the tech field. But because you will not understand the basics, so you should understand the basics of how things work and how you can use them to their advantage, and just use these tools as by the way, to boost your productivity and learn. Anyone has any other question? So I guess I can give it back to James. Uh, Maybe as you're waiting for Dennis.
Thank you very much, Amos. Um, the session was good. Um, my view on vibe coding, I think it is great if you are prototyping or doing a small MVP, where you don't expect, like, you expect after doing the MVP you're going to rebuild the product again from scratch. I think you can vibe code it. It can also help you learn a lot of things, and also do some troubleshooting. So yeah, that's from my end. I think we can end it at uh, there's a comment from Grace. Yeah. Push. Once it works, just push. I think we can end it at this point. So we learn two communities. There is the LangChain community, where we share anything related to LangChain, and also there's AI Labs Kenya, anything to do with AI. So I'm going to share the link to the LangChain community. Amos is going to share the link to the AI Labs Kenya, and I think this is our last session. We had 8 sessions on building agents, vibe coding, and now I think we have come to the end. We are planning for physical events, but we'll communicate the dates. And yeah, so that is it from me. And also, we are doing we are doing some questionnaire. We want to get an overview of what do you guys feel about what we have been doing. What would you like us to cover in the upcoming sessions? And in case also you would like to have a session with us, maybe you can also fill the questionnaire, and we are going to respond. So let me share the link to the questionnaire on the chat. So that's the link. Then I'm going to share the link to the LangChain community. So Amos, I think you can share the link to AI Labs Kenya. So I have also shared the link to LinkedIn Community Kenya. So join the community. In case you have any other question, you can just put your question on the community. We are going to respond. So that's it from me. I think I'll hand it over to Amos to close the session. Thank you.
Yeah, so it's been an awesome 8 weeks of teaching and learning from each other. Right, we've seen different speakers, different topics. So fill out the questionnaire so that we know where to improve and where to teach. And also, if you are building anything, you can share on in those groups so that maybe you can have help on maybe you never know someone who's supposed to help you is actually on those specific groups and share insights on how the different technologies are proceeding and how to build. If you have any questions trying to implement your solutions, feel free to ask in those in those communities. You'll get amazing responses, right? So leave it at that, and I'll see you uh, the next time we see each other. So cheers.
Okay, cheers, cheers.
Cheers. Thank you.